The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Hello, welcome to Staring into the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Michael Patrick Hicks.
Hello.
Matt Brandenburg.
What is up, people?
People this time. You're promoting our listeners in right. Status. Okay.
Yeah, they're no longer just creeps.
No, they are all lovely, nice people.
That's good to hear, I guess. I kind of prefer creeps.
Next week, and
we have two guests today, the hosts of the Horrors of Nachos and Hamantaschen podcast, Derek Sotak.
Hello.
And Jer Hamantaschen.
Age, sex, location, everybody. It's just my muscle memory whenever I was in a big group chat like that. That was always the point of it, right?
ASL?
Hey, everybody.
How you guys doing today?
Not bad.
Yeah, fine.
Derek, why just an eh?
I mean, it's Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday. I gotta go back to work.
It's true.
Yeah.
I feel
starts.
Yeah,
I'll start back to school. That's me.
I start my new job on Tuesday, so.
Oh, that's starting on Tuesday. That came up quick. Good job.
I gotta commute from Boston to Worcester every day, so this is gonna be fun.
Wait, you're gonna commute from Boston to Worcester?
Yeah.
That's Derek territory.
I know it's Derek territory. I used to live near Derek territory.
Oh.
Do the trains work better going from Boston to Worcester as Worcester to Boston? It's done going to Worcester to Boston.
If I wanted to take the train to make it to work in time, I either have to take a 4:50 a.m. train or a 5:10 a.m. train.
That's not much better either.
Or I could leave the house at about 6 and drive there and get there by 7.
Yeah, public transportation, way of the future.
Let's give it up to our governor for having such a great public transportation, the state of Massachusetts.
He single-handedly built it.
Yes.
Bare hands, the whole fucking thing.
Little John Henry.
Big dig for you. Local humor gets you local work. That's what they say, right?
Exactly. So, Derek and Jared, do you want to tell us, the audiences, a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. Derek, should I speak for you or no?
No, you can go first. You're more in the horror field.
No. So, J.R. Hamantaschen is fortunately not my real name. Otherwise, I would have been beaten even more severely growing up. I'm a writer of short fiction. I have 3 short story collections called You Shall Never Know Security. A Deep Horror That Was Very Nearly Awe is the 3rd one. The 2nd one is too long. I mean, this is only like an hour podcast. If I go through the titles, we'll be here for fucking all day. But yeah, I write short fiction. You can find it online. And I do a weekly podcast with my buddy Derek. And some other projects I'm involved in, like editing scripts for movies that will never see the light of day, probably. But the short stories are where you could find me.
I originally started writing for the website Nachonomics about nachos. That's the nacho part of the Horror Nachos and Hamantaschen podcast. And now I've been slowly branching out to, I have a upcoming horror role-playing game set in the worlds of William Hope Hodgson called Gray Seas Are Dreaming of My Death, which by the time you listen to this episode will probably actually be out. So you can pick it up there.
By the time you listen to this episode, you'll find my memorials online.
Will they? Will they?
That's true. Derek, you're the one responsible for writing them, so
you might find a memorial, but
there's just one. They might be hidden somewhere behind a paywall.
Let's not overpromise.
It's a Patreon exclusive.
It would be John Langan gloating.
So for our new listeners, we like to kind of give a recommendation of media and books that we've consumed this last week. So I am going to get started with one we've already discussed, but I feel it needs to be brought up again.
I'm surprised you're going first.
I know, right? And that is Misfits by Hunter Shea. I finally finished it.
Way to go.
It only took me like 2 months. It's really fucking good. I'm just going to pretty much echo everything Mike said in the episode he talked about it. It is one of Hunter's darkest books. It deals with the melonhead cryptozoology really well. And it's fucking dark. It's probably one of Hunter's darkest, but it's still a lot of fun, and it's quite a page turner. So I highly recommend it.
I concur.
We talked about melon heads.
Yeah, we did talk about the melon heads.
Yeah, it's been a while for us.
Yeah. It kind of gave me like Jack Ketchum off-season vibes a little bit.
Yes.
That's like the one book I'd probably compare it to. If you like off-season, you definitely like Misfits.
For sure. Yeah, this one is Hunter Shea completely unhinged. Like, he holds nothing back.
And it's really fucking good.
It is.
But
you haven't read this one yet, have you, Matt?
No, not yet. I'm behind. You'll see. You'll see where I'm at when we talk.
Sounds like reading an autopsy report from the way you're describing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it can kind of be at times. It's really fucking brutal, but it's a really solid read.
Yeah, it's a far cry from his typical kind of adventure, cryptid, balls out, fun kind of stuff that he normally writes. This one is really bleak and not that fun in my opinion, but very, very good.
More fucked up than anything else.
Yeah,
but it's really good. For people who haven't listened to the episode, the book's pretty much, it deals with the melonheads, which is a cryptozoological creature kind of in the Connecticut folklore, kind of.
Yeah,
and it's just about
like inbred mountain people.
Yeah, who have deformed heads and are cannibalistic.
No,
we have them here in Michigan.
Yes. No offense to our inbred listeners.
Neighbors.
Oh, they are in Michigan too. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's pretty much these teens find out the melonhead mythology they hear about is real, and shit begins to go downhill once they want to get revenge on somebody.
I mean, your inbred listeners finally figured out how to listen to a podcast, and now you're insulting them on the first episode they got to work. Huh?
I know, our biggest audience.
They're subhuman, dude. That's why we call them creeps.
Exactly.
They are our most dedicated fan base.
We just, every once in a while, you gotta rile them up so that they get all excited and they have to keep listening to get mad at us. So, a cheap way to get higher numbers.
Yeah, we really try to cash in on the hate listeners a lot. People that hate listen to the show are our primary audience.
With how much Mike likes to rile people up on Twitter, I definitely see that. But Mike,
shout out to Zach.
But Mike, what about you? What do you recommend from this last week?
I read an arc of Christopher Golden's Red Hands, which by the time this fucking show airs, it'll probably be out. This is a December release. The book. I mean, probably this episode too. It is his third in his Dr. Ben Walker series. Ben Walker is a DARPA scientist / adventurer, kind of like a really low-key James Bond sort of dude. Travels with a gun, gets into big gunfights everywhere he goes, and deals with paranormal, supernatural circumstances. In this one, after an attack on a July 4th parade by a crazed driver who has a very, very deadly infection, attacks this parade and kills a bunch of people. He infects one of the celebrants, Maeve, and she runs off into the woods because if she touches anybody within minutes, that person will die. That's the nature of this disease, and DARPA wants it. So Ben Walker is dispatched to find and recover this woman in the woods. And there's a whole bunch of other groups and agencies that are after her also, because this is the kind of viral infection that would make for one hell of a nasty bioweapon. And although this reads a lot like a bio thriller, it is very much a horror novel. Golden does a lot of interesting things with this virus and its history and how it has come back into the world and infected these people. And it is just really, really cool. By the end of it, you've gone from this bioterror thriller to a really gruesome, pulpy horror novel that was just completely my jam. I just loved the hell out of how gory and gooey this thing devolved into. It was a blast. If you're a fan of Ararat and the Pandora Room, then you're going to want to pick up this book and see what Ben Walker does here. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds like quite a read. Matt, what about you?
Well, I was going to ask first, what does how is his partner the gun?
What?
Well, the way you said he travels with a gun. It was a very interesting way you phrased it.
I'm still half asleep. I was up late early. I don't know what I'm saying half the time to begin with.
No worries. I was just wondering if he had a partner named Gunn or if it was actually.
No. It's just I was stumbling through a way to describe him and obviously fucked it all up. So
it's all right.
Thank you. I need my caffeine and my whiskey, and I'll be better.
There we go. Those are good mixes. So I finally, again, saying how far behind I am. I'm finally started reading Devil's Creek.
Finally.
Yes. And I'm enjoying it very much. You know, everyone's praised this book and so we don't need to go too many details into the story, but yeah, I just love the way he sets it up and just I'm only maybe 20% in, so I know I got a ways to go in it. It's a big one. It's a big book. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, it's a thick one.
It's a big boy.
And so it was like, oh man, I got a lot to go. But I'm loving all the seeds that he's already kind of setting up, and I'm already not looking forward to whenever Jack has to face off with the sheriff, because I can tell that's gonna probably happen just because the sheriff seems like a jerk. So I'm not looking forward to that part, but I am enjoying the book a lot. You know, I've talked about reading Scanlines from Todd before, and I loved Scanlines, and this seems like kind of I'm really enjoying his style is what I'm trying to say. So yes, that's a big one I'm reading this week.
I'm glad I'm not the only one stumbling through shit today.
Well, I was trying to think because it's something I feel like everyone's talked about it already, so there's nothing new I can say. It's good. People need to read it. I'm kind of bummed that I missed it because I think it was Thunderstorm Books put out the nice hardcover.
Yeah, I have
that went fast.
Yeah, that went extremely fast. So I'm bummed I missed that, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless. So
awesome. Yeah. Derek and JR, anything for you guys?
You guys had the fucking opportunity to finally talk about my books and promote them, and you fucked it all up by talking about other people's shit. God damn it. Damn it.
That's why you're on the show, JR.
Can't promote my own stuff. Come on.
Talk about how you read your own book.
What did I? So in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna on our show, which is I think the episodes will be out in September. We're going to be doing a thing where we each recommend to the other a movie that we really liked that the other has not seen. So the first one I'm going to recommend, and we were talking about, is a movie called, which I'm pretty sure Derek did not like, but is a movie called The Dirties. I don't know if you ever saw it on Shudder, streaming currently on Shudder. It's like a, have any of you seen it?
No.
I have not seen it, but I've seen
good.
The title.
It's by this guy named Matt Johnson, who I don't know if you ever heard of the show Nirvana, the band, the show. He made that show also. It's a kind of like a found footage leading up to what might become a school shooting, but it's very well made, and it's more of like even like a comedy than a horror movie. But it's like I really like it a lot. I've watched it 3 times now. It holds up really well. It's on Shudder right now. It's less than 90 minutes. I would recommend it. And Derek's first recommendation to me was fucking 13 Ghosts. So my recommendation's better than his.
Yeah.
Other movies.
You watched 13 Ghosts yet?
I did. I watched it last night, motherfucker. My depression intensified.
Well,
I'm just kidding. It was fun.
That movie.
Other movies I was going to recommend for Derek, but he actually had already seen them, so we're not doing them on the episode. I really like the movie Bug, which most people absolutely hated, but I really liked it. Anyone ever see Bug?
Wait, who was in
A
that?
long time ago.
Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd.
It was one of those movies that got the rare F cinema score. Where like audiences hated it so much. But I really liked the movie Bug, which was one movie I was going to recommend, but Derek already saw it. And the movie what's it called? Outback? It's where like the bear kills the person movie.
Yeah.
There's one great scene in that movie where someone gets killed by a bear that, of all the bear mauling people videos I have watched in my life, it's up there. It's pretty bad. So those are movies I'd recommend.
I played recently, like most of the world, Last of Us 2, and I'm not going to talk about that because I recommend it. It did inspire me to go back and check out a book I had read in my youth, which I had not in a very long time, called The Fungus by Harry Adam Knight, which is a very pulpy story written in the 80s about super fungus taking over London. And it is pulpy AF and fantastic. And I would highly recommend that.
Cool.
Are they like sentient fungi?
Well, it's basically they're trying to make fungus so you can just eat it and make superfood. But then it gets out of control. So every type of fungus like goes super fungusy. So like, one guy has athlete's foot and it melts off his legs and kills him because it turns into super athlete's foot.
What?
And then a couple people name any kind of fungus. That's one of the easiest one I can think of. Like mushrooms you have in your kitchen. Like they grow 10,000 times as big and you can eat them. But then if you eat them, then you turn into a mushroom person too.
Yeah, that book is a blast.
Yeah,
I'm fucking sold.
It's a goof. Like it is hilarious and like this is everything I want in this pulpy book.
Yeah, Valancourt just released that, and I think the other book is called Slime that Harry Adam Knight wrote. They're fantastic.
Yeah, Valancourt put out this series recently, the Paperbacks from Hell, and this is not one of that series, but it could very well be.
Yeah, it fits right into that line easily.
It probably would have been a better choice than The Nest.
The Nest is also pretty goofy and fun. It's along the lines of The Nest, but fungus instead of bugs.
Nobody masturbates with the fungus, though.
No.
There's a scene with a guy having sex with a pile of fungus, like the pile of leaves scene in The Nest.
Although there is a fungal rape scene.
Oh, no.
I was going to bring up the not fun parts here. But okay. Yeah, there's some. It is written of its time. Let's say that. So the racist, homophobe, sexual stuff is a little questionable.
Yeah, very, very 80s Brit horror.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying to imagine when you say the rape scene, what the fungus shape takes. Like, what is it? A mushroom rape scene? Like, what is it?
Well,
yeah, it's kind of like Donald Trump's cock.
Is it like Evil Dead?
There's some fungus people involved.
Does someone accidentally sit on a toadstool and then things go very wrong?
The X-rated Little Miss Muffet.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
I'm so tired. Eating curds and whey.
Well, that definitely sounds like I'm going to pick that up my first paycheck.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Before we dive into, I want to say the last thing I recommend is, before I say it, the audiobook kind of sucks, but The Immaculate Void by Brian Hodge is a fantastic cosmic horror story with a really shitty audiobook. The paperback's out of print right now, so hopefully it comes back into print soon, but it's easily one of the best cosmic horror stories I've experienced recently. It's like there's a serial killer who's abducting and killing little girls, and his murders are tied into stars that are dying in the universe. And it follows the one girl who survived and kind of how she ties into this thing that's out in space and is slowly consuming the universe around it. And
can't-
it's
So
Really
pretty
bleak.
small ideas.
yeah,
Just a little bit.
it's really fucked up and really bleak, but it's really good, and hopefully it's back into print soon.
Awesome. I haven't read a Hodge book in a long time, so I need to check that one out. I do have the for copy that came out a while back.
The cheesy press copy that did not survive
Yeah.
that massacre.
Oh.
Yeah. Hopefully he finds a more reputable way to release it.
Yeah. God, thinking about everything that's happened so far this year, I forgot all about that.
Was that even 2020 or was that
No,
2019?
2019.
Cheesy and shit.
Yeah, I think that was last year, but still.
It
feels
was
like
a
the start.
prelude of things to come.
Yes. Just a
Yeah, I
little
think that
bit.
was either like right before or right after Necronomicon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right after, because I remember it happened in like November, I think.
Just craziness.
It's been a roller coaster ever since.
Yes.
The wonderful field of horror has been the ever-loving roller coaster. But speaking of horror,
What a fucking transition right there. God damn.
yeah, I know. I'm fucking,
My jaw's
I'm
on the
fucking
floor.
He's
king
a
of these
pro.
Fucking transitions. I'm a fucking hack.
It is our master of segues.
Speaking of podcasts, we
Speaking
are
of
on
podcasts.
one right now.
Speaking of sitting down,
We are. Oh, I'm standing right now. So
you're not even in a chair.
nope.
You fuck up everything.
Stories
You
about
can
sitting.
Playing that to my dad, man. So, today's episode, we're going to be discussing The Human Chair by Edogawa Rampo.
Is that
Which-
why you're standing?
Yes.
Yeah, did you recently buy a big
Get
chair?
your more.
I recently bought a 1920s like chair that I'm afraid to sit in after reading this story now.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust that.
Especially if it coughs every once in a while. It's not a neighbor, it's your chair.
And this story was brought to us by John and JR. So, why did you guys choose this story?
Well, Derek chose the story. I don't know who this John fellow is, but no, this is the fun one.
Derek
Like,
chose
this kind
the
of
story.
sums up our brand right here, right?
We read this as part of Derek's Stories About Sniffing Women series.
And it's a perfect example of that.
And this was the mild one.
Yeah.
Oh no.
If this is a
Yeah,
mild
right.
one, I wonder what the extreme one was.
Let's just say fungus related.
Oh no. That's just wrong.
It is wrong, but this is a really great short story.
Have you guys read it before? Was this your first time reading it, or?
I've read it before. I took a Japanese literature class in college, and we had to read that for the Japanese literature class.
That's cool. Was it just general Japanese literature?
Yeah, the teacher kind of started us off with like Edogawa Rampo and moved into like Haruki Murakami, but we also read No Longer Human.
I like that novel. I like him. And The Setting Sun and shit.
Yep.
Asumo Dazai.
Yeah, Osamu Dazai. And we also read, I have the book here. I still have all my college books because I'm a fucking dork. We also read, I forget the name of the novella, but it's about this Japanese town who's kidnapped an American pilot during World War II. And it was a pretty bleak story.
It's cool.
Like, this is the first story we discussed for Japanese literature, which was an interesting choice to begin us off with.
I had never read this. This was the first time I've read this story.
Yeah, first for me as well.
I mean, it's interesting to think that it came out in the 1920s is when it.
1925.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine how it must have been interpreted back then.
Right. I mean, it's pretty X-rated.
We finally look back as, the earlier times were so chaste and you didn't get weird stuff like this. But like this was coming out contemporaneously with like C.M. Eddy and Lovecraft The Love Dead, which is, a story about a necrophile, no biggie. Like that was the 1920s as well. I don't know if there just wasn't enough of these that they, we were able to still see them today, like they were lost to the ages or not, or just like, are these the prime examples that stick out? Because The Human Chair, I think, is a very good story. The Love Dead, not so much, but I think just because Lovecraft took some part in that kind of carries on.
Well, I think one potential concession of the story to the time might be at the very end, where there's the suggestion that, oh, this isn't real, it's just a story.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that was kind of inserted because it might just be too unbelievable and controversial and provocative if it was left, oh, this actually happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we had the Hays Code in the 30s that was like, all right, if you're going to make a movie, if something bad happens, the bad guy needs to be brought to justice by the end of it. So it kind of like, all right, you can do something bad so long as you turn around at the end and make it good. And I am wondering if Japan had that same or something similar to that.
Well,
because that's another story in the collection that I read this in. That's basically, it is a guy who murders people, but he murders people by like trying to tell them the truth about things they should be warned of. So like there's a hole in the street and there's a runner guy coming, but the runner's blind. And he's like, hey, don't go over there. There's a big hole. If you fall in it, you'll die. But he knows the runner doesn't believe people when they tell him things. So he is telling them, this guy, there's a hole there. And if he goes in, he will die. But the runner chooses to think he's lying and he falls in the hole and dies. So is he technically a murderer at that point? He told the guy exactly what the case was, but knew that by telling him the truth, it would end up in the guy's death. And there's a bunch of examples of that. But at the end, it's still kind of like, oh, hey, this was just a story I made up too. That's a bad choice for, the editor putting two of those type of stories in back-to-back in a collection. Or maybe it's just something they had to do at the time to get, through the stuff.
In 1921, I was researching it in Japan, they actually kind of passed kind of like a proclamation that said there can't be stories where a man sniffs a woman's ass through chairs. So that's kind of why they added this at the end. Where
that flew right in the face of that law. Jeez.
I know, right? That's why they put at the very end why it didn't actually happen.
That happens quite a bit in this story.
Yeah. So, anyone want to go through the story or just
basically I'm wondering about the ending too, because at the beginning the story's kind of framed by this famous authoress who's reading, who gets a ton of fan letters every day, and she's kind of bored with them.
Yeah, she actually gets a letter, and in the letter it mentions how it reflects how she often gets kind of like letters from amateur writers. And there was one line where it says, in most cases, there were long-winded, pointless, and yawn-provoking attempts at writing. And I finally figured out where S.T. Joshi got his review for my first book. Right there.
So she gets this huge manuscript and reads it, and then that's the story, is basically about this ugly man whose only love in life is to make furniture, and he imagines when he finishes a chair or a desk or whatever, imagines where it's going to be, and he gets so lost in these stories, and he builds this giant chair that he can fit in for some hotel, and so he kind of carves it all out so he can sit inside it, and then he watches people through the chair and falls in love with almost every woman that sits in the chair and gets really creepy about it.
I was actually jealous. He describes himself as physically hideous and ugly beyond description. Yeah, and I was still kind of jealous of his woodworking ability.
Right?
I wish I was so good at something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Able to carve out a fucking space for you inside a chair where you can sit comfortably for hours creeping on other people.
I mean, as someone who's obsessed and afraid of bodily functions, there's no way he could just be shitting all night and day in that chair and be getting away with it.
Yeah.
Well, he mentions he leaves a chair once in a while and steals things.
Yeah, but he essentially lives in this chair for months on end in this hotel.
He talks about he put a bag in there for his. I'm trying to way they described it in 1920s. It's human needs or something like that.
Yeah. Leslie, where's he shower? Like
shower. What?
Wouldn't people smell him?
Yeah, eventually the chair
funk
has got to get
onto it.
pretty rank.
Yeah.
He's got his bag of feces and piss and BO coming through this chair.
You
Eventually,
guys
I think people would not want to sit there.
No.
You ever see the Christmas special that's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When Frank comes through the chair all sweaty and gross.
I did 100% think of that.
That's what this guy probably looks like sitting in there the entire time.
And like,
Yeah, we know he's nude in there too. I mean, that's just a given.
I mean, pretty much he has to be from his descriptions of everyone that sits on him.
Beautiful woman who sit on him.
Oh man, he just eventually the hotel gets sold and somebody buys his chair and he falls in love with the person that the woman in the chair, the woman in this office that this chair is sitting in. And he thinks the woman loves the chair as well because he rocks her and like adjusts slowly. And then eventually we find out this letter is from him. Spoiler alert. He loves this woman and he wants this woman to share that she loves him. And then, yes, at the very end, another letter comes and says, surprise, this was a story. I'm going to call it the human chair.
So do you think in the reality of the world, it actually is just a story, or he actually was doing this? Because, I mean, it doesn't seem practical that this actually ever happened.
I think it believes more as it was just a story in the reality of the world. But we've discussed him on the podcast before. Junji Ito has a kind of sequel story to The Human Chair.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have read that one or not, but
That's when sharks grow legs and eat people.
yeah.
I'm like, what a turn it took.
What a twist.
But in the Ito version, it's like the man was really inside the chair.
Yeah, it's like a M. Night Shyamalan switcheroo.
Yeah, I knew you had mentioned before that Ito did an adaptation of this, and the whole time I'm reading it, I haven't seen Ito's work, but I can only imagine how creepy it must have been.
Yeah.
Especially with, at one point, he's comparing himself to a hermit crab.
Yeah.
Which really kind of plays up how ugly he is.
And he talks about like, cause he's sitting in this chair and it's like really weird where like I guess the springs are on his legs and his arms are in the arms. So, I mean, like it's a very not comfortable position. And he talks about like his body being all fused and like not and taut. So he can't even walk when he sneaks out.
Yeah.
He's got to crawl his way through the hotel.
Yes. Which is just disgusting.
Walking down your hotel room at night and you see that flopping down the hall when you're trying to get out. It's just not the way to go.
Just hopping around on all fours.
The first woman it says he falls in love with is a European girl who sits on the chair and like kind of dances in place and sings for 30 minutes. And I imagine at that point you got to think like this was all worth it.
Yeah, it's very chaste, but you 100% know what's happening when he's in this chair.
Yeah.
They make like subtle references to like amorphous or what he says amorous relations. And there's something else he says too, where you're just like, oh, dude, that's just gross.
Yeah, they never come out and explicitly say that he's whacking it to these people in the chair, but he is.
We know, yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially
the handle on the recliner. Don't be grabbing that. Ooh.
There's this one spring that just keeps sticking up.
There's just one spring. I don't know what the fuck's up with this.
Yeah, just a weird lumpy part of the chair. I don't get it.
I mean, I think this is where Rampo really shines. Like his descriptions of like him talking about how disgusting he is, him talking about how comfortable the chair is. I mean, from the description of the chair in this, I mean, I want to get up in that. And him like all like the gross stuff about talking about the people sitting in there. It's like, ugh, I feel gross just reading this. And that's a sign of good writing right there.
Yeah, he does a lot with very little. It's definitely a less is more approach, and it's just so fucking creepy.
Yeah, well, and it's cool too because he he does a really good job because he can't. There's like one little hole that he can see through, so a lot of it's just description through sound and feel, and it works. Yeah, it's like you can imagine. I mean, he goes into great detail describing how people feel sitting in this chair and like how he can tell if somebody like their size and like what. Yeah, he's like they feel like Jello and they feel like skeletons.
Size of ponies or like skeletons or snakes.
I kept trying to figure out because he kept talking about he was stealing stuff, and I was trying to figure out where he was putting everything he was stealing.
I mean, I guess it has to be in the chair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a Christopher Walken moment from Pulp Fiction, where he's got the watch.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he does have at least one pocket in himself. In the Ito comic, when they cut open the chair and they reveal, like, the spotty car for himself, there's, like, cans of salmon. And I'm just like, how do people not smell that?
Right? That whole just because he said he's been in there for months.
Yeah, there's a can of salmon, there's a can of pineapple, and there's a can of beef.
My God. I can't even imagine, like, yeah, how do people not notice this guy flopping around stealing stuff?
Yeah, what kind of air freshener do they have to clean that up?
Yeah, I do appreciate
what kind of European hotel is this?
Yeah.
Maybe the chair was already next to a smelly bathroom, so they couldn't figure out where it was coming from.
So is that why the woman can only sit on the chair for 30 minutes because the bathroom smell got to her too much?
So reeks.
Yeah. So wacky. I love even too. He like when the guy picks up the chair to take it into the hotel. He's like, "Man, this chair is really heavy." Yeah,
sign of a good workmanship.
Yeah.
High quality wood.
Oh man.
One thing I love about this is like it's really creepy, but it's still like the premise is just goofy enough to make you laugh at it until you read it and you're like, this is actually pretty fucking creepy.
Yeah.
But then when you think about it, it's also fucking hilarious just because it's so weird.
Yeah, on paper, it's disgusting guy hides in chair to meet ladies. Boom, there you go. It's an 80s comedy if I've ever heard one.
Oh, totally.
Give Gus Van Sant a couple $1 million. Let's get an art house film out of this.
I mean, this is what guys did before the internet.
This is what guys did in 1925.
Yeah.
I thought this was ideas guys find on the internet and then start doing.
Well,
if cutting a hole in the bottom of your popcorn at the movies isn't doing it for you anymore, human sharing it. That's the way to go.
We can't all look like Mickey Rourke and get away with it. Delicatessen or whatever the fuck that movie was.
It was like the 1920s version of the Incel's Guide to Dating.
I mean, this guy definitely did not have game because when he wrote the letter to the woman to fall in love with, he said, "While you're reading this letter, I will be roaming around your house with bated breath."
Yeah.
I think he lost her at roaming around your house.
Yeah. Nothing creepy there.
But maybe he thought he'd get her back with bated breath.
oh my God.
Yeah. Maybe.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Well, and it's funny too because like the first like page and a half of the letter, he's just kind of like dissing himself, and then at the same time being like, "Well, I'm not like all your other fans. This is gonna be completely different. You're not gonna believe this."
Yeah, I'm
That
way
is
more
apparent.
disgusting. Love me.
You've already sat on me.
Guy.
You've already sat on me a lot. I've already rocked you to sleep. That was so. He was like, I wanted to make her love the chair, so I rocked her to sleep with my knees. Like, dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got a very comfy couch a couple years back, and it is fantastic. But I don't know if I got a letter from someone saying, "Hey, the reason your couch was so comfy was because I was hiding in it." I'd immediately fall in love with that person.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you should think, hey, this couch is too comfy to get rid of.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, just imagine how good that person must be at cuddling if they're this good as a chair.
Hey, what they may lack in looks, they might make up for in cuddling ability.
Yeah. Ugly as sin, but holy shit, can he spoon?
As long as you don't mind the smell and the sweat, you're all right.
Yeah. He reeks of canned fish and beef, but
With pineapple.
And just lots of just a bag of poop. I'm hoping.
I do appreciate how hard Ito leaned into the metaphors with the canned food groups there.
Yeah, that was really just God. Oh man, this story. It just
Sit under all these women coming out of the bathroom with my canned salmon.
Well, in the Ito version, the man in the chair actually kills somebody too, so there's that as well.
Now, I wanted to ask, like, how does Ito approach this? Does he lean into it as being a straightforward, this is actually happening? Or does he end up going into the reveal of, like, oh, this is just a story within a story, it's all baloney?
Well, in the Ito version, you have the story within the story, but it's being told in modern day to a new person.
Oh, okay.
And she's also recently received a chair from this, like, woodworker dude. Woodworker dude, I speak English. And
Excellent.
he then tells her a story about, like, the man he learned his craftsmanship from. And he then tells her the story of the human chair. And then when she receives the chair, there's somebody inside it. And
the twist is she works at a Lazy Boy factory, so who knows which chair.
Like, the end of the story is, like, she goes to her door and this guy's like, oh, just bringing this chair you ordered in. And she's like, but I didn't order a chair. And then it goes over to the chair and there's, like, a face trying to, like, go out of it.
So this is like son of the chair.
It's like
exactly.
It's like in The Fly, if you have the end, question mark, this is what happens after.
I didn't order a chair, and the chair starts snickering. It's like, like, oh, perfectly normal. I love
Cherry.
it. Yeah, that's what Pee Wee Herman was telling us about. That's where he got the inspiration. It's this chair.
But even, like, in the Ito version, when they cut open the chair, they have, like, the original guy dead inside it.
How come no one noticed that?
They must use a lot of Lysol.
It's just like that scene out of Seven. Just a bunch of pine trees hanging from the ceiling.
Has jars of fluids still there with them.
God. Well,
It's like the most unhygienic chair I've ever heard of. And
I know.
people are just so in love with it.
Oh, it's just gotta be. It's just like
because you sit in it and you get rocked to sleep, man.
I guess so, yeah.
He's like it's like a thin layer of leather between them and him, and it's just like, God, that's just gotta have the sweat just collected.
You get off the chair, there's a weird wet spot, but you just kind of ignore it.
Why is this chair so moist?
And warm. It's so weird.
Why is it sticky?
It smells like salmon.
Well, it's funny too because like it works perfectly for the 20s, because if you think about like now and chairs in hotels, one, they're probably gross, and two, kids are jumping on them. The chair's probably just groaning every time a kid jumps on it.
Yeah, they don't. He never has any bad encounter with, like, oh, here's a shitty kid that's going to jump around on it or anything like that.
No, he's always got hot Europeans on him.
Yeah.
No one farts in the chair, and he's like, "Oh God, get them off."
It's never some overweight dude from a business lunch who's got bad gas.
Now with COVID, it would just be a bunch of people sitting in chairs in empty hotels, jerking off to themselves in consolation.
He's like,
Yeah, there
ugly,
is
but
no
not that
social
ugly.
distancing here at all.
Oh no! I mean,
No.
I guess unless leather can like.
Yeah,
Protect.
they have like a full body mask.
Yeah. Basically like a gimp suit in chair form.
I mean, kind of with the springs and everything. There's no way those are not digging into his legs
Yeah.
Yeah.
And elsewhere.
and elsewhere. It's his penance.
the newest season of the Tick show they had on Amazon that went off the air. You call it going off the air if it's whatever. They're not making any more of them. One of the subplot was a villain that turned people into human furniture, and there was sadly no references to the human chair in it.
Oh,
that's a missed opportunity right there.
I know.
Was it Chairface Chippendale?
Sadly, no. They only went so extreme with the characters of this one.
They missed a mark on that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. He's a good character.
He's a good character.
Searching for this story was fun. When you type in human chair, I got like
you get on a lot of watch lists is what you get.
Yeah. There's a lot of Pornhub in that search.
Surprisingly, it's all like furniture stuff. It took me like 3 pages to get to actually this story, but it was all
the Art Van clearance site.
Yeah, which I don't know. Maybe it's creepy. That's how they do stuff to their employees. They stick them in chairs. I don't know.
I mean, that's just the hazing ritual at Lazy Boy factories.
How long can you last? I mean, the dude, like, they take the chair to a furniture store and he stays in it for like he's not even sure how long, but he's in there, and like at that point, just give up and just leave. But he just
like there was a high possibility this guy never encountered another human being. He's just in a Rotman's for the rest of his life.
Getting dusty and just
more local humor.
Oh man, that's just what if somebody had lice? He would have gotten bugs.
I'm pretty sure it's 1925. I'm pretty sure he had lice.
The whole ecosystem of insects.
Yeah, he's got crabs, he's got lice, he's got the works.
Oh, man.
People weren't showering daily in 1925. Running water was a luxury.
I guess maybe the hygiene issue. Maybe that's why no one noticed the problem with this chair.
Oh, good point.
It just smells like grandma.
They weren't yet diluted by big soap.
Yeah.
God, it's a crazy.
No one had that shampoo that gives you orgasms, so no one bothered.
Guardia Fructis?
Yeah, is that what it was?
Oh, I'm familiar with it.
The name eludes me.
Maybe if they had that shampoo, he would never had to have put himself in a chair.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A new hairdo would have given him all the confidence he needed to go and talk to a lady, despite his ugly face.
Like I kept trying
a good haircut fixes everything, man.
Yeah. I mean, back then they didn't have shampoo and conditioner in one.
Like I kept trying to picture like how ugly was he?
Pretty hideous, I gotta imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he might just have extremely low self-esteem, and then
maybe. He was selling furniture. I mean, people were coming to him to buy stuff, so. And like, I want that story about his assistant, like, because he said he was like, "Oh, my assistant helped sold the chair and put it on the cart." Like, what was he wondering? He's like, "Oh, where's my boss?
Where's my paycheck?"
Yeah, where did he just disappeared?
Where did my boss go?
Yeah, he just took off. What the fuck? He just disappeared.
Or like to see like the prototypes. There's just like a bunch of crappy chairs with a bunch of like kids stuffed in them.
Now that's a story. The missing kids of the human chair.
Yeah.
The test subjects.
Yeah.
It's for the human chair cinematic universe.
Yeah.
The Edogawa Rampo universe.
Yeah.
Tie it into the Nasai.
Yeah, where's Tom 6? And instead of Human Centipede, it's Human Chair stories. The sequel is him making a couch. Some random dude making couches full of people.
He teams up with a character from the Caterpillar, and they just, flop down a hall together fighting crime.
The Caterpillar? What was that?
That's another one of his stories where it's a war veteran who has had his arms and legs blown off, and he can't speak, and he's blind. And he's being taken care of by his wife, but his wife just teases him sexually and abuses him.
Oh my god!
Yeah, his wife's like torturing
Japan
him.
Character.
Oh my god!
His wife's like torturing him for like her own enjoyment.
That
Jesus
is messed up.
Yeah,
are we sure this guy was
dark stuff?
We sure he didn't write the Human Centipede also?
Hey, Mike, the caterpillar is in the collection of Edogawa Rampo stuff that you bought. So
Is it in here? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
I was trying to find if he'd written any more weird stories along those lines, and I couldn't find any in particular, but there was one in the new Junji Ito collection about a guy having sex with a doll in, oldie-timey Japan.
Yes.
And
that was
I
a
tried to
good
find if there
one.
were more stories like that, and then I saw there was an essay someone had written called 3 Tales of Doll Love by Edogawa Rampo. So I guess there's 2 more stories like that out there.
Awesome.
What?
Well, Matt, we know how much you like dolls. That should be right up your alley after reading The Chair.
No, like I can't. No. That
Yes.
seems wrong. Why?
No, that doll love story is pretty fucking creepy.
Like, is it human sized?
Not
No.
Hand size.
so much.
Oh, that's even worse.
He makes love to his wife every night and tells his wife that he loves her, and then in the middle of the night he leaves to go to this different attic and just lays there with a doll.
Ugh. No, thank you.
And he keeps on telling the doll how much he loves her.
What?
Does the doll answer back?
Yeah.
And the doll doesn't say anything.
Is it
It's
a
an-
real doll?
I'm checking now. Have the book open.
That's like, I don't know. Who does any of you get a Vastarian?
I get Vastarian.
Yeah.
The ending is the wife breaks the doll and then he kills himself.
Oh.
Was the doll pregnant?
No. But there is a story in this new Junji Ito collection of a guy having sex with his dead wife, and her stillborn corpse gives birth to a baby.
Jeez.
Nice.
Oh, Junji Ito.
A live baby?
Yes.
A dead baby.
It's
That
a lot of
probably can't really happen.
Probably.
Only one way to find out.
Science.
Matt's going to have to do some testing and get back to us on that.
Oh, why me? It's horrifying. I don't want to do any of that.
But if you guys also enjoyed this, there's a movie called Rampo Noir, which is a Japanese horror anthology film that's for Edogawa Rampo stories turned into short films.
That's cool.
And The Caterpillar is one of them.
Oh, are those animated films?
Oh no, they're live action.
Okay. I heard the Netflix anime, or I don't know if it's on Netflix, but the animated versions of some of the Junji Ito stories were pretty not good.
Yeah, that's a hard pass.
Yeah.
That's just
That's more like, hey, we have a guy known primarily for his illustrations. Let's get someone else in to animate all this stuff and make it look not at all like that.
Let's do cardboard cutouts. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a anime version of Uzumaki that'll be on Adult Swim next year. Maybe that'll be good.
Maybe.
Did they make an animated Goyo too?
They did, and that had very little to do with the manga.
Okay.
What?
It was let's take the robot sharkfish and let's change all the other characters and make a movie.
So they have
Yeah,
the
no one's
same
got tubes going to
sensibility as
every
Hollywood.
orifices to have their farts
Oh,
power
they
robots.
still got the tubes going in
Oh, okay.
orifices.
Yeah. I thought that was.
That'll make more sense if you read Goyo. And if not, it sounds terrifying.
It's still
But
pretty
if-
fine.
If you read Goyo, it's a pretty funny story though. That's more humorous than a lot of other Junji Ito stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anything powered by farts is pretty funny.
So you guys know, I might have to go in a little bit just because I have a furniture delivery man in my lobby ringing me up.
Is it a really big chair?
I mean, I think actually just some a spontaneous gift someone gave me from listening to me on this podcast. So we'll find out. A big fan, he says. He says he's hideous, but I see the beauty in all people.
Yeah,
She's
I
stalking
mean-
around the building.
My podcast partner, for God's sakes, writes about nachos all day, so I look past people's defects.
Oh.
Heyo.
Zing.
Ayo.
You can always wait because there might be another letter coming afterwards, just to telling you it was all a big joke.
That's true. Then I'll immediately return that. I'll immediately return the chair.
You're hoping the chair has someone inside it.
Or just dump the chair down some steps and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I sniff it first if it smells okay.
He might like that.
I mean, you wouldn't sit there just once just to see. I mean, come on, guys, right? Huh?
Hey, you got bouncing in a little bit. See how it goes. Test for lumpy.
Just gotta enjoy the seat for a good 30 minutes before anything happens.
Let it rock you to sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe hum to you.
So I think we're all in agreement that we should definitely check out this story.
Yes.
Or everyone listening should check out this story.
I think so.
I mean, it's also free and online.
Yeah, you can find it easily online. Just search through a couple.
And if
Google
not, just have
pages
fun. Just have fun with the searches. You know? Let it roll.
They'll bring up something interesting.
If you want to
Turn
spend
your
money,
filters off and let it go.
if you want to spend money,
essays.
it's in a collection called Japanese Tales of Mystery and Imagination.
And then you could have fun with the suggested searches like chairs should be humans.
How to make a chair out of femurs.
How to make a human look more like a chair.
Chairs made out of humans.
How to put yourself inside a chair.
I mean, that's just too on the nose. Come on.
Just a little.
If you want to spend more money as well, Cadabra Records, which is a line of vinyl manufacturer that is a bunch of weird fiction on vinyl. They produced a version of this last year with Lawrence Harvey, who is the lead character from Human Centipede 2, doing the narration for it. And if you want a narrator that sounds like he fits the job, that's the guy to do it.
I mean, it's called Human Chair, not Human Beanbag, Derek.
I only have one of their records, but I need to get more of them.
They do a bunch of good stuff. Highly recommend.
I have one of their Matthew Bartlett ones.
Uh-huh.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I ordered their the new Thomas Ligotti one they did, so I'm excited to listen to that one.
Is it just someone crying in vain for 2 hours?
Yeah, pretty much.
Someone yelling out an apartment window.
Basically just saying the world sucks over and over again.
I want to sue my parents for giving me birth because I did not agree to this transaction.
Yeah. And then at the end it has instructions on how to make a chair.
There you go.
Just such a crazy concept.
It really is.
It's fun for the whole family.
Oh my god, so many descriptions of butts.
It's kind of crazy thing this came out of 1925 Japan.
Yeah, I mean but
it's also Japan, so.
I mean, it's Japan is the reason for a lot of things.
I've been to Japan
questionable.
once, so.
Oh man,
I went to Japan. I got corn on pizza. Corn on pizza? That's crazy. Who would do that?
It's actually not the worst idea.
I mean, it was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I've had corn on pizza before too.
Is it normal pizza sauce or just?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if I'd like that.
Pizza sauce. It's pretty good. They also put seafood on pizza too.
Fail.
Just canned salmon and pineapple and just random meat.
No, Japan can be a wacky place sometimes.
Sometimes.
Go for the chairs.
Go for the chairs, stay for the people inside them.
Awesome. Yes. Read the story. Just dig through all the other random crap you'll find online for human chairs.
Yeah. Or buy some of Edogawa's books and experience some more crazy, weird Japanese stories.
With possible caveats for government censorship.
Yes. He also, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the anime Detective Conan, but even that's based on an Edogawa Rampo character.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah, because
So, like-
his selection of writing is either gross out weird horror stories or like child detective stories.
There's some easy overlap to be found there.
It's like if Clive Barker had previously written like Encyclopedia Brown before getting to his other stuff.
Slowly creeping darker and
I mean,
darker.
have you read the Scarlet Gospel? He should be writing some Encyclopedia Brown these days.
Ooh.
I erase that from my memory. That was quite the awful book.
But the word broke the moon in half and it fell onto hell, I guess? Because there's a moon in hell? These are things that happen in the Scarlet Gospel, people. I'm not making this up.
Yeah, and the book's a fucking mess.
I did not read that one. No.
It's
You
bad.
give it a pass.
Yeah, don't. You're better off not ever reading it.
I mean, you're better off watching Hellraiser 5 as a more fitting conclusion to Pinhead than this.
No, I've actually never seen Hellraiser 2. It's worth watching, right? It's good, right?
Yeah, 1 and 2 are gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's diminishing returns as you go until 11, and then it spikes up a tiny bit.
11?
Yeah.
I mean, at the point when you're watching them all through 11, you don't really have the right to complain anymore.
I'm
You're
asking
more
for
just
it at
putting
that
yourself through that.
Yeah.
I mean, what more can they do with that story?
It's like give it 12 more movies and about 25 more hours of your time. It'll pay off mildly after
I don't know. After they have like what was it, the Hellraiser one that was like an MMORPG. There's only up from there.
point. Hellraiser Hellworld.
Did they do a Hellraiser in space yet?
They did. Hellraiser
They did.
4 partially takes place in space.
Okay.
On a space station they designed to be a lambent cube to catch
Wow.
the Pinhead, I guess. That's how that works.
Yeah.
Adam
we'll
Scott's in it
accept
too
that.
as like a 17th century fop.
Oh my god. Is
I believe he
leprechaun in
might
it?
have designed the lambent cube. It's
Oh.
been a while.
Perfect.
Oh man. I just need a
Sounds like a
crossover.
winner.
Pinhead and the leprechaun. That would be
Jason went to space too.
Yes.
fun. Yes.
Jason
Nope.
X.
No Freddy in space though.
Oh.
It's a shame.
Well, thank you for joining us on this wonderful adventure, guys.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Always down to discuss some human chairs and human furniture.
So
And
is
I would
that
be doing
what
that anyways today.
is that what we're bound to? You only have us on when there's an episode about some human being shoved into some kind of furniture. So
Yeah, if we find another human furniture story, you're gonna be our first person we contact.
there we go.
I mean, we're just lovers, not experts at this point. Maybe one day.
Yeah, give us a couple more podcasts and we'll all know how to make human furniture.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a movie about a couch that eats people. So
Yes.
maybe we can have you
Yeah,
back for
the
that
bed
one.
that eats. That's one.
There actually is that. It came out a year or two ago. It's like there's a
Killer sofa.
about a. There's like something about like a killer shirt or something. That's actually supposed to be a good movie.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually supposed to be like quality. It's from the guy who did Barbarian Sound System.
Yeah.
Oh,
Barbarian Sound Studio,
Barbarian
whatever
Sound
it's called.
System is really good.
Yeah, and it's like his next movie is something about like some kind of movie prop clothing that haunts or kills people or something. I don't know.
I know Graham Masterton did a book a couple years ago about evil clothes that would kill the wearers.
Oh my gosh. Was it called Phantom Thread?
I don't remember what it was called.
Oh,
but-
Phantom Thread was
No, I know. With Daniel Day-Lewis. Maybe the sequel to that one should be Phantom Couch, and Daniel Day-Lewis plays the couch.
Yeah, that'll
Daniel
lure him
Lewis
right
out
out
of
of
retirement.
Yes. Just call him up. I got
If
the story
anything is
for
going to
you.
bring him out of retirement, it would be that.
Yeah.
It's called In Fabric.
Yes.
in fabric.
And my search for finding it was movie about killer clothing 2019.
Hey,
Good thing I limited it by year. Otherwise, I'd be real dead.
it'd just be a whole bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a surprisingly prolific subgenre.
Yeah.
You'd be
Did anybody
surprised
see-
about the movies about killer shirts.
Has Stephen King ever wrote a killer clothing or?
Oh, I'm sure
Chair?
he has.
I mean, he wrote The Mangler.
Yes, a killer washing machine or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Somehow walks.
I mean, that's kind of close enough.
He wrote
movie.
Killer Cars. I mean, multiple times.
He directed a movie about killer cars.
Yeah.
Did he ever?
The trailer for Maximum Overdrive, where it's just him talking to the audience about how no Stephen King adaptation has been spooky enough, so that's why Stephen King's got to make one, is possibly the best trailer I've seen.
Yes.
Like, oh, you are coked out of your mind right now.
He was coked out of his mind that entire movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. The trailer's just it's just him in front of that car or that truck.
You may never seen a movie like this before.
I mean, he's not wrong.
That is true.
Such a great movie.
The scene when, like, what was it? The kid gets run over by the steamroller.
Yes.
That movie's fucking nuts.
Oh, I love it. Oh man, it makes me so happy.
I like how we started with like Edogawa Rampo, and now we're talking about Maximum Overdrive.
It's a natural throughway.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's true.
I mean, it worked better than your regular segues, so something went right.
That's true. JR and Derek, where can our listeners get in touch with you at?
Well, they can listen to our podcast, Horror of Nachos and Hamantaschen. They can email us.
The Horror of Nachos and Hamantaschen.
I've still not gotten it yet.
Yeah, don't forget the. Otherwise,
almost
search
200 episodes later.
You're free to contact me on Goodreads and or rate and review my books, assuming they're 3 stars or above. If you do anything below that, fuck off. We have our email connected to the podcast, where you can contact either of us. Derek through Nachonomics. Anything else?
And the Gray Caesar Dream of My Death, William Hope Hodgson role-playing game will be out, or close enough there too. You can find it on Nachonomics.com, or maybe Gray Caesar Dreaming of My Death RPG. I think that's the site that I booked. If not, something close to that. Kickstarter, it's on there. You can order if you want. If you're like a real nerd and like play role-playing games. Oh, zing.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I feel
Nothing
like the
at
guy
all.
who designed a role-playing game has no say in the nerdiness of role-playing games.
I backed that Kickstarter.
You did, and you'll have a copy.
Yes.
Actually,
And-
you should say how great it is, because by this time this comes out, you should have a copy already.
Yeah.
We can add an amendment when we're giving the episode description.
Yeah, just cut in here.
It was great.
Loved every second of it. And Mike, where can our listeners get in touch with you?
They can find me on Twitter at MikeH5856 or hit up my website, michaelpatrickhicks.com.
And Matt?
You can send me all your chair photos on Twitter at BrandenburgDM.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yes. Send him the chair photos and creepy selfies.
I do kind of want to make an Instagram where I just go around and take pictures of chairs that people can fit inside.
And you can follow me at Rudy53088 and our podcast with the ever favorite handle at Into Staring.
It's
And this
perfect
is
for this
Richard
story.
Gerlach saying, keep staring.
Jason A. Meiske here, and I invite you to join me each Tuesday on the Sample Chapter Podcast, the show where authors from all over the world read a sample chapter from one of their books. There's been sci-fi, westerns, horror, romance, thrillers, and even the weird, so you're sure to find your next favorite book every Tuesday on the Sample Chapter Podcast.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.